Usually when Duke Nukem is mentioned nowadays, the first thing gamers think about is either the incredibly fun Duke Nukem 3D or the debacle known as Duke Nukem Forever. But it's rare for anyone to mention the first game old Duke was featured in, simply called Duke Nukem. This was a classic 2D platformer, kind of in the same vein as the Commander Keen games I remember so fondly. So when I first had the opportunity to play this game, I jumped on it, and I will say that I was pretty addicted. Nowadays, it's not as exciting, but it's still a pretty enjoyable game. As is my norm, I shall start with the story. You play as the hero Duke Nukem, who happens to be one of the most badass guys on Earth. An evil villain named Dr. Proton went a bit mental, and Duke is sent to go after him. Duke states he'll finish him off and be done in time to watch Oprah. Okay, I might have to take back that whole most badass guy comment after the Oprah one, but that's really all the story you get, and really, that's all you really need. You just need to know that you play as Duke going through 10 stages and 3 different episodes to take down the evil doctor. For the most part, the game is the same thing you may have seen before if you've played games in this era. It's really simple in design. You move Duke around labyrinthian stages, finding keys and power-ups, destroying enemies, and most of all, collecting points. This was back in the day where scores were saved and you can brag to your friends who had the most points after a complete run, even showing off the leaderboards. It was a simpler time where we didn't have to worry about leveling up to get a new rank. Ah, the good old days. One of the most notable things I remember from my original Duke days was the benefit of having a health meter. Most games I recall, Commander Keen included, did not have one, so one hit equaled death every time. Instead, you have a pretty large health meter to your advantage. Health power-ups are pretty numerous too, with soda cans restoring 1 bar, chicken legs restoring 1, and an atomic health power-up resembling a set of atoms, completely healing you. Here's some fun though. The blaster you carry has some extra benefits over just simply doing damage to your foes. It actually can help you get more health or points, depending on your shots. If you shoot a chicken leg, it'll cook, turning into a whole chicken. Not sure how that works exactly, but in any case, collecting that chicken won't net you 2 health bars instead of 1. And if you're at full health and don't need the carbonation, you can shoot the soda cans to make them fly into the air. Grab this and you'll gain extra points, but no health. And in a game like this where your score means a lot, it's a fair trade-off. There's other crap you can collect to inflate your score. Various flags, footballs, floppy disks, and the like net points up to 5,000. You can also obtain a fancy red balloon that gives you 10,000 points, although this can be burst if you're not careful with your trigger finger. But in addition to all of these items, you can also find 7 secret bonuses in each level that will get you 10,000 points per bonus. I don't recall all of them, but I do know that some are to collect the Duke letters in order. One is to destroy all security cameras in the stage, and another to destroy that strange worm thing that you can find flying around in an infinity symbol pattern. These are completely optional, and not always possible to get all 7 during every level, but those points are there if you wish to chase after them. There are a few strange oddities to the game I need to mention. For one, enemies don't usually move unless they are close to you on the screen. What I mean by this is that if you walk too far away from an enemy, they seem to be completely removed from memory, only to be reloaded in once you get close again. This sucks if you're lost in a level, walk past an enemy, get to a dead end, and then have to walk back, only to forget that that enemy is still there and alive. I'm sure it was just a limitation at the time, but it's still not cool. Another strange thing is that when you jump large gaps, the screen has to catch up with you. The screen rarely moves with Duke unless your legs are on the ground or if you reach the extreme edges of the screen. This only happens with vertical movement though, so if you're just traversing to the left or right, you wouldn't notice this. I should touch on the graphics. I still think that they were fantastic for its time. The backgrounds are sadly static and don't move, but there's plenty of flashing colors to grab your attention. The best part is on some of the small details the developers put in, such as the enemies exploding when you attack them, or the smoke that the flying bots give off if you cause them to default to their demise. I loved this. You can also see some of these same bots kick off some particles when getting low to the ground. Very cool. But best of all is a cool reflection that you can see on a small amount of the stages. For the time, this blew me away. Still kinda does when you take in the fact of what the rest of the game looks like. The only real complaint I have with the game is once again a hardware limitation that couldn't really be avoided at the time, but I still need to mention. The PC speaker sound effects. Overall, they're not bad. But there are some noises that will grind on your ears, such as these weird barriers that constantly emit an electrical effect. Why this couldn't have just been muted to save our ears, I'll never know. Now, I was going to end my review with one, but I decided to throw in Duke Nukem 2 this week too, just because it's not an entirely different game than the first. So we'll just talk about a few things and we'll call it a day. Sound good? First off, why does Duke sound like Arnie?
I am back.
Oh well. The story is that Duke is now on Oprah, and then is abducted by an alien race. The master villain wants to suck out Duke's brain and put it into a computer that will design a bunch of tactical plans to win a war with Earth. The story and one-liners are pretty cheesy, as you can probably see, but it sets the stage for more stages of 2D action, with Duke blasting everything that moves again. Gameplay-wise, there's not a huge difference. Duke is still shooting things, although this time it's primarily aliens instead of robots. He can still pick up power-ups, items for points, and caffeine. There's also a lot more bombs this time around. At least it felt that way. There are some different guns that you can find, instead of just adding onto your bullet count. You can find a rapid-fire power-up that lets Duke shoot faster. I know, no-brainer. But in addition, you can find a laser weapon and a missile launcher. All weapons, other than your default rifle, have limited ammo, and you can't change between them voluntarily. So if you find a better weapon, you're stuck with it until you deplete your supplies. Clearly, the graphics have a huge increase between the first game and this one. Everything is much bigger, with more color and detail. There's more explosions, and you'll still see some small debris when some things blow up. And in the sound department, everything sounds much better, since the game was able to get away from the PC speaker and move on to the Sound Blaster. Let me back up to the graphics though. The catch with having everything much bigger is that it's a lot easier to get hit. The original game wasn't the easiest game available, but Duke Nukem 2 really increases the difficulty. It's mainly because so much of the screen is taken up by the status bars, and Duke himself is pretty large. The game also moves at a faster pace, so you have to have quick reflexes if you don't want to keep smacking into an enemy. Thankfully, just like its predecessor, Duke Nukem 2 features infinite lives, but it also adds in a checkpoint system, making screwing up and dying a bit more tolerable. The first two games of Duke Nukem's career might not be as memorable, but they were still fun for its time and still are today. If you're a fan of platformers but don't like Duke's cocky attitude or the subject matter of recent games, you should check these out because they were before the M-rated sequels started popping up. Overall, they're fun games that will probably challenge you every once in a while. And with them being on sale all the time at GOG, they won't break the bank. Final score? I'm going to go with 8 out of 10 for both games. Both of them have their quirks, but are pretty fun to play when you just want to let your brain rot for a weekend. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.